Welcome back to The Division 2. In this video I want to talk to you about the NPCs in the game, the enemies that seem to have all these different superhuman abilities that change when new updates come to the game. Make sure you stick around until the end of this video, as there are a few different interesting things that enemies do that are really out of place, and we will be going through a lot of them. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, sub to the channel and check out the links in the description if you want to support me further as a creator. Thank you to everyone that does support the channel. Let's get into it. For a very long time now, the enemies in The Division 2 have had incredibly weird programming. Sometimes they go as far as getting stuck in walls or spawning completely out of bounds if you're in a main story mission as an example. The developers did state in a State of the Game livestream a long time ago that they use something called low-level coding, which actually requires a lot more coding compared to The Division 1, and I've always said that backfired so badly because players always found problems in The Division 1 as well. Then after a while, they moved a lot of the Division 2 team over to other projects, and they left a small crew in charge of the Division 2, which is quite a big game. This only made matters worse, and they ended up spending around a year and a half creating a single game mode and a new season, which is crazy considering the new game mode is similar to a mode already in the game, and the new season isn't much different to the older seasons. Title Update 15 introduced a new game mode and season, and since then I've seen players complaining about enemies acting weird, and from my experience, which is around 1,800 hours in the game, and I've also played since the beta shortly before the game launched, enemies have always acted weird. Enemies can spend literal minutes behind cover without moving, enemies can get stuck, they have no idea where you are, and that's even when you're right in their face, and there is much more to it. However, the complaints are more about the enemies being way more powerful than players feel they should be. Overpowered enemies has pretty much been a staple for The Division 2. It creates talking points in the community, which then gives the developers something to actually work on, and is no different in 2022 compared to what it has been in previous years. My experience has been that enemies seem to be more aggressive, the shotgunners will now push you way faster than they used to, and the standard enemies like your normal red bars and stuff will also push way more than normal, but there are multiple different complaints that I've seen. People are complaining about red bar enemies shredding them, even when the player has huge amounts of health and armor. People are complaining about enemies being faster than the player, with some people saying that enemies are walking faster than you can actually run. Enemies are now shooting you through walls and other solid objects, and players are even feeling as though enemies are getting tougher the higher your expertise level. None of this seems crazy or really out of place to me because I've experienced the weirdest stuff in The Division 2. How many of you remember Yannick the Beard hitting you for like 50+ million damage in a single shot? How many of you also remember the same thing happening for us when we used a shield and a turret to buff our guns to the point of dealing like 400 million damage in a single shot? The only problem with these issues is that there are so many different scenarios the developers could not test them all. The problems in The Division 2 seem to work on a case-by-case basis, where one person will experience getting hit through a wall, and their teammate in the exact same mission with them will have enemies standing still. Maybe not exactly to that extreme, but players are always going to experience different things in The Division 2, and not only that, you need to think about how small the development team is for the game at the moment. The Division 2 has been out for years now, and the developers are also working on multiple projects, including a full AAA game that supposedly releases in 2022 if things haven't fallen behind. That obviously makes it horrible for players experiencing all these different problems with the enemies, but that's something you get used to over time with The Division 2. Anybody noticed how your turrets don't shoot properly when it rains? People will think that's realistic, but I'm pretty sure it's a bug, or at least it is as far as I'm aware, because it's not always been a thing in the game. It came into the game a long time ago through an update, and it's never been addressed by the developers, so nothing's 100%, but if it was supposed to be a realistic feature, it would have been mentioned or put in the game from launch. What I think needs to be done is community managers need to be hired for the game, and some good ones, because the community need to be heard, especially now that most of the older players have left. They need to try and maintain a player base, or there is no point. The developers need to have communications open between them and the players, especially seeing as they are wanting to do more with the game again, but that is all my opinion. Check out this video if you are interested to see Yannick the Beard hit me for 54 million damage, and let me know your thoughts about the enemies in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.